Yakanan, just go to Daniel 7 chapter. Yakanan gonna read. And then we all get this. So we gonna go into chapter 2. We live. Brothers check the feed, make sure the sound comes through. I can get it live though. Alright, Shalom.
Shalom.
First and foremost, we're gonna turn towards Jerusalem, giving all praise and honor and glory to Yahweh,
Ba'ashem, Yahushua, Ba'ashem, Kakudash.
Right, Yahweh is the true name of our Heavenly Father. Yahweh Shai is the name of His only begotten Son, our Lord and Savior, from the word of the Lord Jesus Christ. Ba'ashem Kakudash is in the name of the Holy Spirit. It's the inspiration given us to edify those that have ears to hear. Double honors to our teachers, the apostles and elders of great millstone. Peace and salutation to the hopeful elect brethren, faithful and diligent preaching His word with fear and trembling. Shalom to the believers that subscribe to the truth with spirit of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. All right. The Lord will you be edified. We got a lesson, as you see, entitled Everlasting Dominion. Okay, which everlasting dominion is going to go to who? Yahweh Shai and the elect of the nation of Israel. Okay, and the rest of the nation of Israel will come into the kingdom under that everlasting dominion. Right? An immortal, eternal people and an everlasting rulership. All right? So we're going to open up with Daniel the 7th chapter. We're going to get into these different dominions, all right, that have taken place. Okay? And the period dominion that we're under now, all right, which is about to come to. All right? And that's when that everlasting dominion is going to come into fruition. So we're going to start with Daniel 7, starting at the top.
This is Daniel 7, verse 1. It says, in the first year of Belshazzar, king of Babylon, Daniel had a dream and visions of his head upon his bed. Then he wrote the dream and told the sum of the matters.
Right, so we're reading the dream and the visions now. Go ahead.
Daniel spake and said, I saw my vision by night, and behold, the four winds of the heaven strove upon the great sea. Right,
the great sea being what? Mediterranean Sea. Right, which these dominions that he's about to speak of, they all came out of that region, around the Mediterranean Sea. All right, go ahead.
And four great beasts came up from the sea, diverse one from another.
Now these beasts, what do they represent? Well, the whole Ecclesiastes, the 3rd chapter, right? What do these beasts represent? Go ahead, 3, 18, and 19. If brother got any other beasts, what do these beasts represent? Daniel, it's gonna tell us in Daniel, but let's get a precept or two.
This is Ecclesiastes chapter 3, starting at verse 18. I said in my heart concerning the estate of the sons of men, that the Most High might manifest them, and that they might see that they themselves are beasts.
See, so these beasts represent men and their empires. All right, go ahead.
For that which befalleth the sons of men befalleth beasts. Even one thing befalleth them, as the one dies, so dieth the other, yet they have all one breath.
Now we just had class on Genesis, the 1st chapter. We read around 1 and what was that, 20? Said, let the moving creature that have life come forth abundantly, all right? And then it got into those creeping things, all right? But guess what? Out of those creatures that were created, men were created out of the same waters. All those moving creatures that came forth abundantly out of the waters included men, beasts and men. So, and even in that time, that very time, men were in a beast-like state. Okay? Go ahead. Go back to Daniel. That's got something? Yeah. Go ahead.
This Revelation 17. Okay, I'm reading 1 through 3.
Yep.
And it says, and there came one of the 7 angels which had the 7 vials, and take it with me. I mean, it's like it talked with me, saying unto me, Come hither, and I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore that sit upon many waters, which whom the kings of the earth had committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have been drunk with the wine of her fornication. So he carried me away into the spirit and into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast.
Right. So that beast represents what? Men in their empires.
Yep.
Right?
Right.
Let's keep
Full of names and of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns.
Right, which is the infrastructure of the Edomite Empire.
That's right.
7 heads and 10 horns. All right. Those horns represent powers.
That's right.
Go ahead.
Back in,
I'm getting
all right, back in Daniel 7 and verse 4, the first was like a lion and had eagle's wings.
Yep.
I beheld till the wings thereof were plucked,
Yep.
and it was lifted up from the earth and made stand upon the feet as a man, and a man's heart was given to it.
Meaning understanding. Man's heart was given to it. Say the wings, this empire, all right, beast was represented by a lion with eagle's wings. This is the Babylonian Empire, right? All right, which were actually Assyrians at first. Okay, those wings represent the Assyrians. Okay, then you had those wings that were plucked up. Then you had the Babylonians. Okay, which was the lion. Okay, the head of Nebuchadnezzar's statue. All right, they gold age. Go ahead.
Verse 5, it says, and behold, another beast, a second like to a bear,
Yep.
and it raised itself on one side.
Right, and that bear represents what? The Medo-Persian Empire, which was the next empire to come into rule after the Babylonian Empire fell. All right, with Cyrus, was it Cyrus the Great? All right, took down Darius the Mede. Right, because Darius the Mede was the ruler of the Medo Empire, and then Cyrus conquered the Medes. Cyrus the Great, the Persian, conquered the Medes. Right, and the Medes were the Medo Empire was absorbed into the Persian Empire. Go ahead.
It says, and it had 3 ribs in the mouth of it, between the teeth of it, and they said thus into it.
Right, and it said before that it raised itself up
on one side,
On one
and
side.
it had 3 ribs.
Right, so the Persians overtook the Medes, and then the 3 ribs in his mouth represent 3 kingdoms, right? Lydia, Egypt, and Babylon.
Right.
Go ahead. You had something?
No.
Go ahead.
It says 3 ribs in the mouth of it, between the teeth of it. And they said thus into it, arise, devour much flesh.
Meaning conquer, right? Conquer these nations. Rise and conquer these nations, right? Which we always speak about the movie 300, and you see the vast empire that the Persians had, right? And they had all those different soldiers come up against the 300, and then when they saw them pressing upon the battlefield from the sea with all those ships, it's like they had countless legions of armies, right? Because that's how vast it was, all right? Go ahead.
Verse 6, after this I beheld, and lo, another like a leopard, which had upon the back of it 4 wings like a fowl. The beast had also 4 heads, and dominion was given to it.
Right, now that leopard represents Alexander the Great, right? Now, go to Kodash. Go to the historyofwars.org and type in DIADOCHI, which is dyadic, right? Which means successive wars, right? Now read that again about Alexander the leopard. Read that again. Okay.
All right, it says Daniel 7 and verse 6, after this I beheld, and lo, another like a leopard, which had upon the back of it 4 wings of a fowl. The beast had also 4 heads, and dominion was given to it.
Right, so that leopard represents the Greek empire under the dominion of Alexander, the Alexander the Great. And those 4 heads represent his 4 generals that after 20 years of wars took over the empire, divided his empire between those 4 generals. But prominently, the 2 generals that divided his empire was Ptolemy and Seleucus. Okay? Now, you get your precinct. Can you find what I was talking about? Come on, real quick so I can tell you.
I'll just back you up with the 4 kings.
Okay, 4 kings. Go ahead.
It's First Maccabees chapter 1, verse 7.
Start at 6. Well, matter of fact, read 1 and jump to 6 and 7.
It's First Maccabees chapter 1, verse 1. And it happened after that, Alexander the son of Philip, the Macedonians who came out of the land of Chittim, had smitten Darius the king of the Persians and Medes, that reigned in his stead, but first over Greece, and made many wars and won many strongholds.
Right. Remember, prophecy had to be fulfilled. See, the Lord had the spirit on Alexander. All right, all right, go ahead.
And slew the kings of the earth, and went through the ends of the earth, and took spoils of many nations. And so much the earth was quiet before him, whereupon he was exalted, and his rock was lifted up.
Right. See, he was exalted, but his rock was lifted up.
Jumping to verse 7. So Alexander reigned 12 years.
Right. And think about it. This is real history. You know, this is real history. You can read about it in what they call it in secular history. In your school. You know, they teach you about Alexander. They call it Alexander the Great in the school, right? Go ahead.
And then died. And his servant bare rule everyone his place.
Go ahead.
And after his death, they all put crowns upon themselves.
That was Yakanans, you got done reading. All right, go back to 14.
This is Daniel 7 and 6. It's saying, after this I beheld, and lo, another like a leopard, which had upon the back of it 4 wings. For of a fowl, the beast had also 4 heads, and
4
dominion
heads.
which was given to it.
Them four heads, right? Now this is when the Edomites come into power.
Right.
The leopard represents the Edomites beginning to take over, right? This is the beginning of the gold of Edomite supremacy, Alexander the Great, right? And when he died, which he had a short reign, he reigned 12 years, right? Then his empire was divided between his generals. Now, notably those generals we always talk about, Seleucus, Ptolemy, Lysimachus, and Cassandra. But there's a 20-year history of wars that took place before the kingdom was solidified with those kings, okay? And the only kings that really were dominant was Ptolemy and Seleucus, okay? But he got it right here in the history of wars.org, right?
Yeah, I got, this is a dichotomy.
Yeah, Diadochi.
This is a Diadochi Wars, 3. This is 323 to 280 BC.
Right. So 323 is when Alexander passed, right? Some say 323, 322, right? 323 BC when Alexander passed. Go ahead.
And it reads, the wars of Diadochi were a series of conflicts that followed the death of Alexander the Great. They were fought between his most important generals for control of all or part of his empire.
Yep, go ahead.
And it reads, the main issues were decided during the first 20 years of the conflict.
Right. So the beginning of Edomite supremacy started with division. Now what does the scripture say? Brother, give me that. If a kingdom be divided against itself, it cannot stand. So these kingdoms that you see that we're reading about, which were likened unto beasts, were always set up to fall. And these kingdoms were always divided, right? the Assyrio-Babylonian Empire, the Medo-Persian Empire. And then the Greeks were divided amongst themselves. Okay? The Edomites were divided amongst themselves. Go ahead, bro.
It's Matthew 12 and 25. And Yahushua knew their thoughts and said unto them, every kingdom divided against itself is brought to desolation, and every city or house divided against itself should not stand.
Right, right. Go ahead.
You finish it up, it reads, ending at the battle of the issues in 301 BC, Alexander's empire was split into three main successor states.
Now listen to these successor states. Go ahead.
Macedonia,
Egypt, right?
Egypt,
Philip the Macedonian. So that Philip the Macedonian, right? That region is where Alexander came out of. So that was always a main province in the Greek Empire, right? That was like one of the capitals, Macedonia. Go ahead.
Egypt, and the Seleucid Empire.
Yeah, the Seleucid Empire, right? Egypt, which is where Ptolemy reigned, and the Seleucid Empire was in Babylon. Go ahead.
And it reads, conflict between the surviving successors continued at a less intense layer until the death of the last of the successors, Seleucus I, in 280 BC.
Go ahead.
And it reads, the successors can be seen as having fallen into two main camps.
So this is the two. This was the two political issues that they were conflicting about. This was divided. These were the two political issues that divided them. Go ahead, right here. This is going to explain.
Those who wanted to maintain Alexander's empire intact.
Those that wanted to maintain Alexander's empire. Go ahead.
Either for his descendants or for themselves.
To set up his sons to still be the king of the empire,
and those who wanted to establish their own rule.
And those that wanted to establish their own rule. So, no new things under the sun. Because that's what you got going on now. Because even amongst, now we know that Joe Biden ain't the real king, right? The elites are divided amongst themselves of how they want to run the world. See what I'm saying? The brother, Priest Shaman, went into that. I remember in the lesson, he was like, what you got is those elites. They pushing for things to go one way, and they divided amongst themselves. The others want things to go another way. They want this ruler, the other one want this ruler. And really America is a corporation, so they want this representative, this president, you know, to push forth these political ideas, to push forth these agendas. But go ahead, bro.
And those who wanted to establish their own rule over smaller parts of the empire. And it says their first task was to establish a framework for the rule of the empire after Alexander's death.
Yep. So that's what was going on. Now, go ahead and get into it. It's going to get into some names. Keep going, brother.
And it reads, their first attempt was made in Babylon in 323 BC. Officially, the empire remained intact to be ruled in the name of Alexander's son, Alexander.
Is it a V and an I in the front of the V? That's 4. Yep.
And read Alexander IV and his half-brother under the name Philip III.
Right. Now, this is in the historyofwars.org. So they got the records. Yep. You see? So they got the records, and the Bible is telling you in the Apocrypha, all right, about this kingdom, the Seleucid Empire, which Antiochus, all right, came out of the Seleucid Empire. Keep going, bro.
And it reached real power was split between Perdiccas,
right? See, that's a name you don't hear about. See, real power was split between, now this is before the 4 generals got in power.
Right.
This is the history of the wars. You got Perdiccas, go ahead.
Perdiccas, as a regent for the two kings, Antipater as
Antipater. Now Antipater, right? Antipater, that name goes all the way up to the Roman Empire, because you had Antipater the Idumean, right? Now, who was Antipater's son? Cassander. Antipater's son was Cassander. That's in there. Keep going.
and it reached Antipater as the king's representative in Macedonia.
Yep.
And the satraps prominent amongst them Ptolemy.
Ptolemy. There it is. So you have Perdiccas, Antipater, Ptolemy. You still ain't heard about Lysimachus. You still ain't heard about Cassander. You still ain't heard about what's the other one? It did mention Seleucus. It did mention so. Only ones that they mentioned so far is who? Ptolemy and Seleucus. Because Lysimachus and Cassander really was no level. Go ahead.
And it reads, who was given Egypt and Antigonus one eye.
Ptolemy was given Egypt and Antigonus one eye. That's what they call him, one-eyed Antigonus. So because when you Google Alexander's generals, it's gonna mention Antigonus, right? Because Antigonus was a top dog over them guys before they had those wars. Go ahead.
And it reads, who retained control of much of Asia Minor.
Right. So that was like the final conquest, the final campaign that Alexander died trying to conquer was Asia Minor. Go ahead.
And it reads the ranks. And it reads, and the ranks of the successors were soon then. The death of Alexander triggered a revolt in Greece.
See, so it was a revolt. They started fighting amongst each other. So that order that they had, you know what I'm saying? It was divided. Go ahead, get your precept real quick.
Okay, this is Isaiah 19 and verse 2. It says, and I will set the Egyptians against the Egyptians.
Right.
And they shall fight everyone against his brother,
Yep.
and everyone against his neighbor, city against city,
Try to stand and listen.
and kingdom against
Try to
kingdom.
listen. Stand right. Yeah.
I'll read it again,
That'd
brother.
be cool right there. Go ahead.
Isaiah 19 and verse 2. And I will set the Egyptians against the Egyptians,
Right.
and they shall fight everyone against his brother.
Right. And this is future prophecy. So the modern day Egyptians, right, is Edom.
Yep.
All right, the Egyptian Russians and the Egyptian Americans, the Edomite Russians and the Edomite Americans, right?
Same people.
Yeah, because when you get that in Joel, brother, get that in Joel, where it talk about Edom and Egypt shall be a desolation. You know what I'm saying? So Egypt is synonymous. It's just a code name for Edom in that particular context of that scripture. That's not talking about the actual Egyptians. All right. When y'all find it, let me know, and we're gonna read. You got more?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
It says, and they shall fight everyone against his brother, and everyone against his neighbor, city against city,
Can you put that
and
up?
kingdom against kingdom.
Right.
Yep.
So that's what was going on from the very beginning of them coming into power. And that's how they that's how they took each other out then, and that's how they gonna take each other out now. Go ahead.
Finishing up, and it reads, the death of Alexander triggered a revolt in Greece, Lemane War, 323 to 321 BC,
Yep.
which saw, which saw the death of Leonidas satrap of.
Just say it the best you can, bro.
Hellepistan.
Yeah, just say it the best you can. Yup. Say it like you know what you're saying. And keep on going. Their name's not important. Go ahead.
And it reached this revolt overlapped with the first Diadochi War 320.
Diadochi.
Yeah, Diadochi War 322 to 320, triggered by what may have been the first bid to success Alexander.
Yeah.
Perdiccas decided decided to marry Alexander's sister Cleopatra.
Yeah.
Also, certainly
That was a power play. Go ahead.
Also, certainly with an eye on the Macedonian throne.
Yep.
Alarmed, most of his fellow successors rallied against him. Only
Eumenes.
Eumenes stayed loyal. Ptolemy made the most dramatic of gestures.
There go their name again. And see, when you read in the Maccabees, it talk about Ptolemy. All they talk about is really is Ptolemy and Antiochus and Seleucus. But Seleucus, again, is where Antiochus came out of. Antiochus. Go ahead.
Seizing the body of Alexander the Great and taking it to his capital of Alexandria.
Right, which is where Ptolemy was ruling in. So they took Alexander's body and really they mummified that shit. See, dealing with them Edomites, Egypt was always a main stronghold where they had the Alexandrian library. It's all type of records that they kept over there in Egypt, man. You know what I'm saying? And they took on a lot of the Egyptian culture, ways.
You see that today?
You see that today with the red, white, blue. Yeah. You know, that was a sign of royalty and leadership. The red, the white, and the blue signify different leadership positions, right? Who got that, Joel? Go ahead.
This Joel.
Let him get it, Doc. Let him get it. Come on, bro. You been kind of quiet on
this. Joel 3 and verse 19. Egypt shall be a desolation, and Edom shall be a desolate wilderness.
See, Egypt shall be a desolation, and Edom shall be a desolate wilderness. So there you go, synonymous. Just like when you read in Psalms, what's that, 137, they talk about Edom and Babylon, right? So all of these empires that came before Esau, Edom, got into power, they adopted their ways. They took on the spirit of these nations, man. Yeah. Okay? So when you read in the scriptures, you gotta know it's really talking about actual Egyptians and actual Babylonians, or when it's talking about symbolically Edom in America.
Right. So you got the modern day.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? The modern day kind of what it is. It's Esau.
Right.
You know?
Yep. See more?
Yep. So this is back in Joel 3 and 19. Egypt shall be a desolation, and Edom shall be a desolateness for the violence against the children of Judah, because they have shed innocent blood in their land.
Yep. That's it. Right? So we can go back there in a second. I'm finna get the last final part of this, right? All right. Read this right here. This paragraph, and this paragraph, and this paragraph. Read through it as fast as you can, but efficient. Yeah.
And it reads at Tripitacus Antigonus had been given a job of defeating Eumenes. He was engaged in this when Antipater died 319 BC.
Right. So now what we're about to read is when Cassander, Lysimachus, and Seleucus got power. All right. When they really got their power, because Ptolemy was solidified. Go ahead.
Removing the last source of stability in the empire, he had appointed a minor general, Polycarchon.
Yeah, Philippicon. Go ahead.
Yeah, Philippicon to replace him, and this triggered a new round of conflict.
So when Antigonus set up a new satrap, a new governor, pretty much, Philippicon, this caused a conflict. Let's see what a conflict becomes.
Second Daikati War, 319 to 316. This reigned Philippicon Philippicon against Antipater's son, Cassander.
See? Y'all caught that? That was that caused Cassander, all right, to go to war with Philippicon because Antipater was Cassander's father. Antipater didn't set his son up to rule. He had Antigonus under him, and then Antigonus, instead of setting up Cassander, set up Philippicon. Then Cassander had beef. Go ahead.
And finishing up, and it reads, and in Greece and Antigonus against Eumenes in Asia. By the time it ended, Cassander was virtual king of Macedonia.
Right. By the time the war ended, Cassander was virtual king of Macedonia. So that's when he got into power. Go ahead after this war. But go ahead and let's see what he did.
Alexander's mother Olympias.
Let's get this shit. We can get to the point. Yep, right here. Right there. Right there. That paragraph right there with that map.
And it reads, that coalition contains Ptolemy, Cassander, and Lacedaemon.
See? So what happened was a coalition between, who we just say? Cassander, Lacedaemon, and Ptolemy to go against who? Go ahead.
They delivered an ultimatum to Antigonus.
See there? So that's why when you read about on Google, it always mentions Antigonus. Because Antigonus had that power over them, and they had to come together to get his ass out the way. Go ahead.
And it reads, in which he was ordered to surrender large parts of Asia Minor.
See? Yep.
And all of Syria and Babylonia.
Yep. Now, I'm going to tell you what happened. We ain't going to go into it. What happened was Antigonus and Seleucus was working together against them three. But Seleucus backstabbed Antigonus and took over that shit. That's how that happened. So that's how they got in that power seat like
Just
that.
like Edomite.
Just like Edomites. And that's why he read the Egyptians against the Egyptians, and the kingdom divided against itself shall not stand. But you see, that's no order. That's all beast-like shit going on right there. Yeah. But we can go back. We had something else. That was it, right? Yeah. So we go back to Daniel 7, right?
All right, this is Daniel 7. That's a lot. Daniel 7 and verse 6. Verse 7. It says, after this, I saw in the night vision and beheld a fourth beast, dreadful and terrible and strong exceedingly. And it had great iron teeth.
Yep. Meaning that iron teeth represent what? It's military might. Because the Roman Empire had a very strong military. Right? And that iron was the major element that they use in their weapons. Right? Iron. Go ahead. Just like today, because this ain't nothing but the Roman Empire over again. Go ahead.
That's why I said hard iron, hard slave.
Right.
But go ahead.
Yeah. When it get to that part, right? Go ahead.
It devoured and brake in pieces and stamped the residue with the feet of it. And it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns.
Yep.
I considered the horns and behold, there came up among them another little horn.
Right. So when he read in Revelation 17, the 7 heads and the 10 horns, that represents that fourth beast. Right? Now, back then, you had what you call the Germanic tribes. Those 7 heads and those 10 horns. You had the Vandals, the Visigoths, the Goths, the Burgundies, the Lombards, all those different, when you go into it, look up the Germanic tribes and it'll tell you. The Franks, I believe. You know what I'm saying?
7 horns, what? Minor, major, British.
Well, that's today's 7. I was going into the ancient day because they had the same type of infrastructure, which they just imitated today. When you're going into it today, that's what you're going into. Germanic major, Germanic minor, France, Rome, Spain, Greece. The Greeks, the Spanish, the French, Germanic major, Germanic minor, British, and
You said all 7 of them. That's 7.
we said all 7 of them. Okay, go ahead.
It says, before whom were before whom there were 3 of the first horns plucked up by the roots.
Right, and that's talking about America. That little horn that came up is talking about America. And those first 3 horns that were plucked up was the French, the British, and the Spaniards. The Spaniards, the French, and the British. Yep.
It says, behold, in this horn were eyes like the eyes of man.
Meaning understanding. Eyes like the eyes of man. Go ahead.
And a mouth speaking great things.
Yep.
Going
Going into his way. It's a political system. It's democracy. It's laws. It's legislation. Draconian. Go ahead.
I beheld till the thrones were cast down, and the ancient of days did sit.
So now, right? Daniel said he saw all of this, right? He saw all these beasts, right? And he watched all this until the thrones were cast down, right? These thrones were cast down.
And what he saw the downfall.
He saw the downfall of these kingdoms.
Man,
he saw the end of these dominions, right? Now, give Revelation 19 and 12, I believe. Let me see, make sure, right? This is what Daniel saw. Let me see. Revelation 19 and 19.
Oh.
Yep. Revelation, what I say, 19 and 19. 19 and 19.
Yeah. It's Revelation chapter 19, verse 19. And I saw the beast and the kings of the earth.
This is John the Revelator. He said, and I saw the beast and the kings of the earth, which we said these beasts represent men and their empires, represents kingdoms. Go ahead.
And their armies gathered together to make war against him that sat on the horse and against him, his army.
So this is when this is what Daniel saw.
Exactly.
He beheld till the thrones were cast down. Right? Go ahead.
And the beast was taken, and with him the false prophets that wrought miracles before him, with which he deceived them that had received the mark of the beast and them that worship his image. These both were cast alive into the lake of fire burning with brimstone.
Yep.
And the remnant were slain with the sword of him that sat upon the horse, which the sword proceeded out of his mouth, and all the fowls were filled with their flesh.
Right, it's going to what? The thermonuclear missiles.
Yep.
All right, America, Babylon, and Great is the lake of fire, man. Not that bullshit Christianity teaching. All right, that hell doctrine. No, Babylon and Great, aka America, all right, it's gonna be the lake of fire, man.
That's the point right there. Go back to Daniel.
All right, Daniel 7 and 9, I'm going to read it over. It says, I beheld till the thrones were cast down, and the Ancient of Days did sit, whose garment was white as snow, and the hair of his head like the pure wool. His throne was like the fiery flame, and his wheels as burning fire.
It's talking about him coming in the glory with those chariots, and they're going to be shooting out flames of fire, right? That wheel is really talking about the chariot.
Right.
Yep.
That flame of fire is going to blaze.
Yep.
When you go into, what is it, 2nd Ezra, the 13th chapter, it explains that.
Yep.
And it says, well, he never lift up the hand nor sword.
Now this is talking about in verse 9, the Ancient of Days. This is the image of the Most High.
Yeah, Yahweh.
Okay. Go ahead.
Verse 10.
Yep.
A fiery stream issued and came forth from before him. Thousands ministered unto him, and 10,000 times 10,000 stood before him.
Yep.
The judgment was set, and the books were open.
Right. Now go to Revelation 20 and 11. Start at 11. Right. Whoever get there first.
This is Revelation 20 and 11.
Yep.
And I saw a great white throne and him that sat on it,
Yep.
from whose face the earth and the heaven fled away,
Yep.
and there was found no place for them.
Yeah. And there was found no place for them. Right? So when Yahweh Shah comes to take over the earth, he's gonna come with so much power that these people really gonna be fleeing from him.
Andrew said, but thus they fight.
But they does fight. Yep. Go ahead.
And it reads verse 12. And I saw the dead, small and great, stand before the Most High.
And I saw the dead, small and great, stand before the Most High. Now go back to Daniel where it say he saw thousands, I think, standing before
verse
him.
10.
Yeah, go ahead. Here it is. This is linking up. Go ahead.
Daniel 7 and 10. A fiery stream issued and came forth from before him. Thousands ministered unto him, and 10,000 times 10,000 stood before him.
There we go. That's what we're seeing right here in Revelation 20 and 12. Now go back to Revelation 20 and 12.
This is Revelation 20 and 12. And I saw the dead, small and great, stand before the Most High.
The dead, small and great, stand before the Most High. Proving what? That the dead's going to be raised up.
That's right.
Go ahead.
And the books were open, and the other book was open,
And another book was open. Go ahead.
which is the book of life.
Which is the book of life, right? Because we know the book of life represents who? Yahweh Shah, right? Because he has been committed to all judgment. So this is talking about the day when the Lord comes to judge, to bring forth judgment. Everybody gonna be judged according to their works, whether it be good or evil, right? He said the Lord gonna judge what? The quick and the dead,
Right.
all right? So he gonna open up the judgment. When he on them chairs, when he on their chair, that's what he gonna be doing, opening up judgment, executing judgment, delivering and destroying.
He said his reward with him.
That's right. Somebody had something?
Jeremiah 9 too.
Go ahead, y'all get it. What you got?
This is Zephaniah chapter 3, verse 8. Therefore wait ye upon me, said the Lord, until the day that I rise up to the break.
Yep.
For my determination.
That's why when you read in Isaiah 34, when they talk about the Lord coming with his judgment and his sword, they say the Lord's sword is filled with the blood of lambs and rams. Those are beasts. But that's not talking about actual, the Lord ain't coming to hunt lambs.
Actually,
I mean, they gonna die too, but he coming for these people.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so those beasts will represent actual people in Isaiah 34. Go ahead.
For my determination is to gather the nations, that I may assemble the kingdoms, to pour upon them my indignation.
It's where his righteous anger. Like when you go to that where indignation means righteous anger, man.
Even all my fierce anger, for all the earth shall be devoured with the fire of my jealousy.
Right. So, you know, when you really look at judgment, how he looks at it, right? He looks at all these nations like beasts. And you look at man when they hunt. Don't nobody feel no type of way. Well, some people do real sensitive, but men hunt deers and lions and you know what I'm saying?
But especially not the Edomites. They do it for sport.
Put it on their car. They gonna put it on their car.
They can't even eat, man.
Brother,
So that's what the Lord coming to do with men of no understanding.
And also, too, the Lord requires sacrifice.
That's right. That's right.
So this they
Say have a great sacrifice in Bible in the land of Idumea.
Come on, man.
Go ahead.
I got one more for you.
Go ahead.
Micah 4 and 12. But they know not the thoughts of the Lord, neither understand they his counsel. For he should gather them as the sheaves into the floor. Arise and thresh, O daughter of Zion. For I will make thy horn iron, and I will make thy hoofs brass, and thou shalt beat in pieces many people.
Right. So this is talking about the power that he gonna give his people.
That's right.
So he gonna make us like iron to beat these people, but it's gonna be in spiritual power. Like the power that Esau Edom got on the left hand side carnally with iron, we gonna have it in the spirit. That's why Revelation 2 say what? Just look it up. Yeah, just get it, because I can't say it better. But finish, Corral.
And I will consecrate their gain unto
All
the
praises
Lord, their substance unto the Lord.
to Yahweh. Why? Yahweh shot. We almost out of here.
Meaning these nations that we're going to inherit, all right, they're going to be for the purpose of the Most High's righteousness. The gold and the resources that we're going to inherit from these nations, it's going to be for the Most High's righteousness, for the kingdom of heaven. Yep, go ahead, bro.
This is Revelation chapter 2 and verse 27.
No, 20 started at 26.
All right, done. This is Revelation 2 and 26. And he that overcometh and keepeth my works unto the end, to him will I give power over the nations.
This is when the everlasting dominion comes. To him will he give power over the nations. And how he gonna give it to us? Go ahead. How is the power symbolized? Go ahead.
This is Revelation chapter 2 and 27. And he shall rule them with a rod of iron.
See that link right up with the brother just brought out, right? How he gonna make Zion? That's how I always talk about. Zion really represents the elect. Zion really specifically represents the elect that we're going to. Go ahead.
And it reads, with a rod of iron as the vessel of potter shall they be broken into sheaves, even as I received of my Father.
Shall be broken into shivers.
Shivers.
Yep.
Hey, what bag that up? What
Because
bag
that's
that
what
up?
it said in that
Psalms, the second chapter.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's what bag that up. Get that real quick. Psalms
Hey, I was
second
just
chapter,
thinking
real
that.
quick.
I got you.
That's what bag that up right there.
Hey, this Psalms 2, and well, I'm gonna start at 8. It says, "Ask of me, and I shall give thee the heathen for thine inheritance,
Yep.
and the uttermost parts of the earth."
Hold on, one. It said, because you guys were talking about Yahweh Shai. It
All
said,
right, I go to verse 6. It says, Psalms 2 and 6. "Yet have I set my king upon my holy hill of Zion."
all right, there you go.
Yep.
Go ahead.
"I will declare the decree. The Lord has said unto me, Thou art my son, this day have I begotten thee."
That's how you know you're talking about Yahweh Shai. Because I just said, it started with Yahweh Shai, his kingdom. Go ahead.
"Ask of me, and I shall give thee the heathen for thine inheritance, and the uttermost parts of the earth for thy possession.
Woo!
Thou shalt break them with the rod of
Said
iron.
what up?
Thou shalt break them with the rod of iron."
And that's not talking about literal iron. That's talking about the spiritual power that we're going to have is going to be likened unto what iron does destructively.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's symbolic. But as you see, when you read about the 4 beasts, they talk about him having iron teeth.
Yeah.
That's talking about physical power.
Yeah.
The iron that we are being symbolized with is talking about spiritual power.
Yeah. Right.
It says, "Thou shalt dash them in pieces like a potter's vessel."
Yep. Remember, start when Yahweh Shai, judgment is going to come back into the earth. See that? Judgment's coming, man. That's how the law, statutes, commandments is going to be governed on the earth through what? Judgment.
Hey, did you finish Revelation 20?
You got something real quick?
20 and 12?
Go ahead.
Yeah, he ain't finished it, but go ahead.
You know, he got it quick.
Go ahead. When y'all finish it,
This
we're
is
gonna
Psalm 9 and 16. "The Lord, Yahweh Shema Shai, is known by the judgment which he executes."
That? So the judgment ain't going forth right now in the earth. But it's coming. All right? Go ahead.
"The wicked is snared in the work of his own hand."
Vertical. That's how you were speaking on Edomite versus Edomite. See, what it is the Most High got Esau the trick bag. And they're going to be snared by the works of their own hand, which is what? The thermonuclear missile.
Well, when you go into the divide and conquer, right? Google divide and conquer, right? When you Google divide and conquer, guess who that philosophy go back to? We're gonna wait for it. Watch who divide and conquer go back to. Google divide and conquer, go to Wikipedia. Is it coming up? Okay, bring it out.
This divide and conquer in the Wikipedia A divided conquer. I don't even know this word. Algorithm breaks down a problem into two or more sub-problems of the same or related type until these become simple enough to be solved directly. The solution.
I hope he got it too. Go ahead. If he got it, if you don't got it, go ahead. Because it's going to tell you who that philosophy go back to.
The solution to the sub-problem are then combined to give a solution to the original problem. The divide and conquer technique is basic of efficient algorithms for many problems, such as sorting, quick sort, merge.
You said they in different sources.
Okay. But go ahead, he just break it down.
Yeah. But this tell you where they go back to.
Go ahead.
Man, tell me what the source you get it from. Who it from? Divide and rule from Wikipedia, right?
Yeah, let the camera know.
Yeah.
Divide and rule.
Yeah, show it to the camera.
Divide and rule. This is divide and rule. And it goes into a tradition attributes the
All praises
of the motto
to you.
Of Macedonia.
There it is. Read it one more time.
This is divide and rule in the Wikipedia. It goes into the tradition attributes the origin of the motto.
The word is attributes. Attributes. Yeah, attributes.
Tradition attributes the origin of the motto to Philip II of Macedonia.
So they honor Philip II of Macedonia for divide and rule.
Which is rule.
Eat him.
He in first, was that first Maccabee?
We just read it out. First Maccabee. Go ahead.
Wishing to preserve some and to destroy others.
That's how he rolled.
That's how he rolled.
That's how he rolled.
That's a song, man.
What's the Georgia Guy song?
It all link up.
It all link up, man. You know? Go ahead.
Creating or encouraging divisions among the subjects to prevent alliance that could challenge the sovereign.
The sovereignty.
Sovereign in distributing forces that they overpower the other. Just said there was two kingdoms that were trying to overpower the other one.
Yeah. So that show you that that empire that we living in go back to the Greeks, right? Which another topic for another day, which brothers have done it before. We can prove through the scriptures that that line goes back to Amalek, okay? Which we ain't it's too extensive. We can wrap it up. Like, you know what I'm saying? Maybe another lesson for another day. But you can prove in the scriptures that that line of Philip Macedonian, right, go back to Haman, the Agagite. This is an essence. Yeah. But it can be proven. You know, we've done it before, but we ain't finna do it today. Go ahead.
Back in
go back to Revelation 20, and then when he finished that, then jump back where you at.
So this is back in Revelation chapter 22 and verse 12, and I saw
20 and 12. 20 and 12.
Oh yeah, Salaki. This is Revelation 20 and 12. Salaki. And I saw the dead, small and great, stand before the Most High, and the books were open, and the other book was open.
Another book was open,
which is the book of life.
Yep.
And the dead were judged out of those things which were written in the books according to their works.
Yep. This is the book of life. And Yahweh Shah said what? Lo, I come in the volume of the book, it is written of me. Go ahead.
Verse 13. And the sea gave up the dead which were in it, and the death and hell delivered up the dead which were in them, and they were judged, every man according to their works.
Yep. You're gonna get judged.
Yep.
All right, according to your works. Because why? The law that was still standing.
Meaning you gonna have to take part of the lake of fire,
Exactly.
or you gonna be beamed up into them chariots for salvation.
That's it.
Regardless, everybody gotta go through one of them two judgments.
Yeah.
You either gonna get delivered or destroyed by thermonuclear missiles. Go ahead.
Verse 14, and death and hell were cast into the lake of fire. This is the second death. And whosoever was not found written in the book of life was cast into the lake of fire.
There it is. Now go back to Daniel 7, right?
Daniel 7 and 11. It says, I beheld then because of the voice of the great words which the horn spake. I beheld even till the beast was slain, and his body destroyed and given to the burning flame.
Huh?
And given to the burning flame.
That's the second death.
Yep.
Go ahead.
So verse 12.
You gonna go to hell.
Right.
When it says death and hell is cast into the lake of fire. Make that make sense.
How you kill it?
Yeah. How fire you gonna burn fire?
Big fire.
Verse 12, as concerning the rest of the beasts, they had their dominion taken away.
Concerning the rest of the beasts, they had their dominion taken away.
Yet their lives were prolonged for a season in time.
Yet their lives were prolonged for a season in time. What's that for? Slavery. Slavery.
At Job 14:5, they cut off points. Yeah.
Right there, that's talking about after the destruction,
Right.
we gonna take their ass into slavery. So those first fruits of slavery lives gonna be reserved for 1,000 years to be destroyed after they build up the kingdom.
Right.
That's
Because
their
you're gonna have
season.
that remnant of Esau gonna be saved. They're not gonna take them.
Yeah.
Why? Because they're gonna fulfill prophecy of them going into slavery.
Yeah.
Because if all the Edomites down this side, how can they bring back they sons and nephews, you know what I'm saying, in the kingdom?
Yep.
So the Lord gonna have to save a remnant of Esau. That's why the Lord allowed them to have the underground bunker.
Yep.
Allowed them to have
Space station.
in the mountains. He allowed it. Why? Because prophecy gotta be fulfilled.
13.
Well, you just finished reading 12.
Shit.
Right? Jump.
Yeah. No.
You at 13? Okay.
Keep going.
Read it from the top. Go ahead.
You want me to read 12 again or go to 13?
Hold on, y'all had precepts, right? Yeah. Go ahead, Salah.
This is Psalms 149, starting at 6. Let the high praise of the Most High be in their mouth and the two-edged sword in their hand, to execute vengeance upon the heathen and punishments upon the people, to bind their kings with chains and their nobles with feathers of iron, and to execute upon them the judgment written.
Right, so he just read the judgment, right? And their lives will prolonged for a little season, and their lives are gonna be prolonged in chains, in fetters of iron. Their lives are gonna be prolonged for 1,000 years of hardcore slavery, and that's the payback for what they did to us. Go ahead.
Dishonor have all his saints. Praise ye the Lord.
Right, saints of the Israelites. You got it, you know.
This is Numbers chapter 24, and I start at 17. I shall see him, but not now. I shall behold him, but not now. There shall come a star out of Jacob, and a scepter shall rise out of Israel.
That's your house shot.
Can I say something?
Yes, sir.
Hey, that's law. That's all. That's law.
That's your house shot.
Yeah.
And,
That's the law.
and shall smite the corners of Moab, and destroy all the children of Self. And Edom shall be a possession. Sir, it says, Edom shall be a possession. Sir also shall be a possession of his enemies, and Israel shall do violently. Out of Jacob shall come he that have dominion, and shall destroy him that remaineth of the city.
Out of Jacob shall come he that hath dominion. Beginning Hawashah.
That's it.
King David, all right, the elect, the house of David, the elect, 144,000, man.
I got something so special right there. It go right with it. As you speaking it, go ahead, Doc.
Bring it out.
This is Amos chapter 9, verse 11.
Yep.
And that day will I raise up the tabernacle of David that is fallen, and close up the breaches thereof, and I will raise up his ruins.
Right, when that's happening now.
That's right.
Go ahead.
And I will build it as in the days of old,
Yep.
that they may possess the remnant of Edom.
Huh?
That they may possess the remnant of Edom.
Did you not just read that in the law?
Yeah.
Edom shall be a possession.
Yep.
He said the remnant. So guess what? You're gonna have Edomites gonna survive World War III.
Yeah, underground bunkers, deep,
You see?
underground military bunkers. They call them domes, right? We got underwater bunkers, underwater.
Yeah, because they got a whole
submarine-
world under there.
Submarine estates.
Yeah.
Like they got submarines that's really made like houses and dwelling places.
That's right.
Go
All
ahead.
that to go into captivity.
Right, all that for us to go right down in there, pull your ass up out the water, pull you up out the
Get
caves
your
and
ass
the
out and
mountains.
put some chains on.
Remember, the Lord, Yahweh said, his words are faithful and they are true.
Right.
He a man that he shall not lie. See that? So all is adding up to the remnant that Esau being delivered from just mistake. Y'all see that? Go ahead.
And of all the heathens which are called by my name, said the Lord, that does this.
Right.
Behold, the day cometh, said the Lord, that the plowman shall overtake the reaper,
Right. Go ahead.
and the treader of the grapes him that soweth the seed, and the mountains shall drop sweet wine, and all the hills shall melt.
Exactly. See that? The day is coming though.
Yep,
All right.
yep. And we're gonna go ahead and get the final precept. We're gonna wrap it on up.
This is Isaiah 24 verse 21, and it reads, and it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall punish the host of the houses that are on high, and the kings of the earth. And the kings of the earth upon the earth. Verse 22, and they shall be gathered together as prisoners are gathered in the pit.
There it is. They're gonna be prisoners of war, just like we were. They're gonna be prisoners of war, and the ones that gonna win the war are the ones that they least expect. Right? The last precept that I want is Isaiah 45 and 17 after he gets done with Daniel 7 and 18. Go ahead.
All right, back in Daniel 7 and 12, it says, as concerning the rest of the beasts, they had their dominion taken away.
Yep.
Yet their lives were prolonged for a season and time.
Right.
What the doctor said, coming for.
What he say?
He said, because I said the Lord is getting people ready for captivity.
That's right.
Their lives are prolonged now, though.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep. Yep.
It
And when they
says,
go, when they after the war, they're going into the kingdom as slaves, man.
What did Revelation 6 hide me
Yeah.
from the one that sit upon the throne
Yep.
and the Lamb? Let the rocks fall upon me.
Yep.
See that?
Go
in
ahead.
verse 13, it says, I saw in the night vision, and behold, one like the Son of Man,
Yep.
came with the clouds of heaven, and came to the Ancient of Days, and they brought him near before him.
This is talking about Yahweh Shah, coming to the Heavenly Father. Go ahead.
And there was given him dominion and glory and kingdom, and that all people, nations, and languages should serve him.
Yep. So that's how you know this ain't the kingdom of heaven. Whoever
Right.
made that stupid ass thing. Because the Lord is not ruling, and there's not all nations under one roof. You got all these different kingdoms under different rules. But America has the biggest dominion. You know, go ahead.
His dominion is an everlasting dominion.
He say his dominion is an everlasting dominion. Who got that word dominion? Right? I believe it's shalat. Right? I think the Hebrew word for dominion is shalat. And go to the root of it. Yeah, it's Shalat.
This is dominion in the Blue Letter Bible. The root to have power, rule, domineer,
Yeah, come here. Yeah.
rule over,
Yup.
have power upon or over, rule, fall upon, assault, be ruler.
Yup. Yup.
It says, his dominion is an everlasting dominion
Everlasting power. Everlasting rule. Go ahead.
which shall not pass away.
Which shall not pass away. So where does that equate to us only living for 1,000 years? Where does that equate to us being reconquered by Edomites?
I was just going to say that right after
How does
1,000 years.
that's not what they're saying. Go ahead, bro.
It says, which shall not pass away, and his kingdom, that which shall not be destroyed.
It shall not be destroyed. You see that?
Right.
And that's the difference between the other kingdoms and their dominions and this dominion that's on the way. Ain't nobody gonna destroy it. We're not gonna be taken down again. We're not gonna be beguiled by the serpent, seduced by Eve to follow after the ways of Eve.
Because another way how you know that Yahweh Shai dominion is going to why? Because it's going to be ruled with righteousness.
Yup.
Every kingdom that was set up upon the earth was what? Ruled in wickedness. They had no order according to the laws that the Lord has set up. This dominion that's coming is going to be set up by the order of the Yahweh Shai. So that's why I said the prayer, as it is in heaven, what? On earth.
Yep.
Yep.
Yep. It says, Daniel 7:15, I, Daniel, was grieved in my spirit in the midst of my body, and the visions of my head troubled me.
Yep.
I came near to one of them that stood by and asked him the truth of all this. So he told me and made me know the interpretation of these things. These great beasts, which are 4 and 4 kings, which shall arise out of the earth.
So that's what we said in the beginning, right? They're breaking it down. Those 4 beasts are 4 kings, 4 kingdoms that will arise out of the earth. Go ahead.
But the saints of the Most High shall take the kingdom.
Right. So he read in Psalms 149. This honor and praise ye all his saints. Praise ye the Lord. Right? The saints of the Most High shall what? Take the kingdom.
And possess the kingdom forever, even forever and ever.
Not 1,000 years, we gonna live and die.
Right.
Esau and Edom, no, not gonna raise back up and take us out of rulership.
Right.
No, that's not gonna happen. Isaiah 45:17, and we can wrap it up.
That's the order to die. You got what? Got to be seen.
You gotta sin to die.
You know?
That's what caused death, sin.
That's crazy.
So this is Isaiah chapter 45 and verse 17.
As a matter of fact, in Revelation, it say there shall be no more death.
Exactly.
No more tears, no more crying. Hey, man.
For Israelites, though. For Israel.
Let's talk about Israel. Yeah.
You are the nation. You motherfuckers gonna get it.
Oh, man, it's gonna be well
And I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say this. Even the other nations gonna live longer in the kingdom than they do now. You know what I'm saying? Because the earth gonna be on a righteous vibration.
Right.
So ain't gonna be no chemtrails, ain't gonna be no GMO foods. Everything's gonna be pure and organic.
Going back to paradise.
Really, the only thing that's gonna kill them is sin. And they gonna be subject unto it. They ain't gonna have the law, statutes, and commandments in their inward parts because that covenant is only allotted to you.
Right, that's why you got Romans 30 and 7. It said all these persons. There's gonna be a transition of power. Yeah, we've been now. Remember the Lord said we're gonna become the tail, they're gonna become the head. Now we're gonna go back to the head, and guess what? They're gonna become the tail. It's gonna be like that forever.
Yep. It's real quick one. This Proverbs 29 and verse 2. When the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. But when the wicked bear rule, the people mourn.
Go ahead. Isaiah 45:17.
This is Isaiah 45 and 17. But Israel shall be saved in the Lord, Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai,
With what?
with everlasting salvation.
Everlasting salvation. Everlasting dominion.
Can't get around.
How you gonna go down?
That's it. That's it. The salvation is synonymous with victory.
Right.
Go ahead.
Ye shall not be ashamed, nor confounded world without end.
Nor ashamed, nor confounded. Meaning we ain't gonna go off no more.
Can you imagine that?
World without end. And that's the day that we patiently wait to come to fruition. That's really the only true heaven. You know what I'm saying? That's the only true heaven on earth, is that kingdom right there. You know? Now we had it before we had sin come in through Eve, and we should say through her we all die. But the dominion that we gonna have in the world to come gonna be far greater than even in the beginning. So we gonna know both good and evil.
Yeah. Will make us wet.
So with that, Lord willing, we're edified again. We're going to turn towards Jerusalem, giving all praise and honor and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashur HaKadosh. Double honors to the apostle, nails a great millstone, peace and taste to the hopeful elect, Om Yasharallah, Baba 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 Yabim, Rakah Akim Shalom.
Rakah Akim Shalom.
DTA.
Yeah, baby.